Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for this 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons show. Going around the table, we have the players, starting with Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick. I play Thaddeus, the human paladin of Sunhand, at least for now.
At least for now.
You're not gonna die!
That's
I'm
right.
Kay, who's the tiefling wild magic sorcerer named Harmony.
I'm Melissa, and I play Mara, the human pirate.
I'm Zach. I play the very conscious hunter who's a warforged fighter.
He is very conscious. We stream on Twitch every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, then post those episodes to YouTube the following Wednesday. Throughout our show, we use several custom items and a custom wild magic table for our resident wild magic sorcerer. So if you're interested in any of that, there will be links. I'm getting to that in the announcements. I always skip ahead. Shoot. Music comes from BattleBards and TabletopAudio.com, as well as Incomptech. And the links to all of those are in the description as well. If you're watching us on Twitch, you can check our channel page for links and info, such as the links to the music I just mentioned, as well as the links to our custom items and things like that. If you're watching on YouTube, all of that is in the video description, so that's where you can go to find that. Then, if you don't get enough of us here, you can follow us on Twitter at Antiheroes Anon, which I believe the information for that is on the YouTube page as well as on the Twitch page. So that's, if you've already forgotten what I said, that's where you can find it. Other than that, enjoy the show and do share it with your friends. Come back for more. All that good jazz. So to give a quick recap, we're starting off in a little bit of an intense moment. The party in Ferendel, the capital city of the continent they've been traveling across, allied themselves with Mara Stormwind to break into the tower of the wizard Helja Ironshield and find out if she is alive or not. They made their way first below the tower into its basement, where they found an ancient Illithid ruins and a powerful magic barrier sort of sealing that off. They decided to leave that alone and go up the tower instead, where they met Drix, the keeper of Helja Ironshield's library, and his pet centipede, Shelby, I believe we named her.
Yeah, that's
That
right.
sounds right.
Then at the top of the tower, and Drix informed them that Helja was alive but in mortal peril. The group then decided, because they were drained and exhausted, they decided to take a long rest within the tower. And when they got to the top, they found that the worst case scenario had happened, and Helja was dead as an Illithid, a mind flayer, these creepy humanoid-shaped creatures with like octopus tentacles at their mouths, was in the process of carving out her brain with a buzzing saw. Meanwhile, Hunter's old friend Wen, I guess acquaintance perhaps is more of the word for it, was standing guard over all of this in his new mechanical warforged body. And a fight ensued. There was also a beholder-like creature there, which Harmony managed to banish, and she's maintaining concentration on that banishment, which is good for everyone else. However, Thaddeus rushed at the Mind Flayer and did a whole ton of damage to it before falling subject to its Mind Blast, getting stunned, and then Wen coming over and taking advantage of that and knocking him unconscious. So we're in a bit of a pinch at the moment, and that's where we're going to jump in as soon as I have battle music at the top of a round mid-combat.
So we had 2 full rounds last time, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it's your turn. Or we
Yes.
left off. You still have all the initiatives?
I do.
Great.
And it's Harmony's turn.
Yep.
So
All
let me
right.
just pick some music and then we'll get going.
So I must have marked this at the end of last episode. Because that's 2 full
No,
rounds.
that's too upbeat.
Too upbeat.
Oh! Yeah,
That'll do.
that sounds good. Alright.
Drop the volume down a bit.
Yeah,
There we go.
I forgot that was right.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Harmony, you're up. What are you gonna do?
Luckily it triggers where I am and not where I'm going to be.
What's
So,
the plan?
I'm going to Dimension Door
Okay.
next to Thaddeus
So the shimmering portal appears behind you.
and Wild Magic happens.
Wild magic happens. It's going to happen right back where you were, next
Yeah.
to that
So I'm sorry,
intellect
Mara,
devourer.
if this affects you. We'll see what happens.
Might be a hunter too.
Their braces and sulfur once.
But it might get the other brain.
Yeah.
Which will be a good thing.
Drops a fireball.
38.
Gonna go with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, making my life complicated.
Yep, it's my job. I'm a wild magic sorcerer.
Is it Charlie?
That's what
No.
we do.
No.
No, Charlie would be a blessing.
Would you roll a d6 for me?
Sure.
Okay.
2.
Okay, perfect. Not too many.
Yep.
You guys have seen these creatures before, I believe, once.
You could bend left
When
back.
Harmony's wild magic was going off repeatedly as she was a raven and flying up in the sky.
That's true.
Oh, the flumps.
Yeah, so two flumps appear.
Yes!
Where did they appear?
Are they gonna have a conversation?
It says
Within 60 feet
within
of you.
60 feet of me.
And are frightened by you.
And they're frightened.
So two flumps appear, we'll say here and here. And to give the viewers a little bit of reference of what a flump looks like, and Melissa as well, since you were not there at that point in the game.
They're adorable.
They're the
They're
best.
these guys,
Okay.
these harmless little squid-like creatures from the Underdark. And as they appear, there's sort of like a telepathic burst of conversation that goes into the room, and one of the flumps looks at the other one and says, "I say, where have we come out today? Where is this? What's going on?" And the other one says, "By Jove, I have no idea. Who are these creatures? What are they?" And that's what happens to the flumps on their turn. I'm gonna just leave them on your initiative.
That's fine.
More experience points.
And
But
I'm
then they
going
sort of
to-
turn around to Harmony and they get a look at you and they're like, "Ah! What is that? Run away!" And they like
Call
start
for
moving the other
Call
direction.
for Lord Pluto.
that was not this reality.
I know. I know.
To get over there.
Dimension 4. It's this one. Okay, so then I'm going to cast Dimension Door again with Quicken Spell. I'm going to grab Thaddeus, and I'm going
Okay,
to go 500 feet out the room.
let me check.
500 feet.
Quicken Spell.
I know you can do it. I need to check something else.
It's not concentration.
I know. I need to make a decision. Yep. The Illithid turns towards you as you appear and sees you go to begin to cast your second spell and get out of there. He says, "Ah, the little mage has come out to play." And as you go to cast your spell, he's going to attempt to counterspell it. What level is?
It's 4th level.
So he needs to get a 14, which for him is plus intelligence. He got a 16.
No.
I
And
can't
he says,
use bad luck on that, can I?
To subtract.
Yeah.
let's check the wording of that book.
I think attack roll, ability check, or saving.
It's an
throw.
ability check, I believe. So let me double check counterspell, and then you double check bad luck, because this is kind of important.
I gave him the fucking idea today too. I did. I was like, it'll work unless somebody has counterspell. God damn it.
Flower mouth.
When another
Yeah.
creature you can see makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, I can use my reaction.
2 source points.
Mhm.
Yep, it's an ability check, so you can bend luck on it.
I'm gonna do that
Okay,
because I don't have a choice. Otherwise, I'm fucked.
so he had a 16.
So
So you
awesome.
have to
have
get
to roll
a
more
3 or
than-
4.
Yeah.
Well, what else am I gonna do?
50-50 chance.
Yeah.
I
no,
can't. I
no,
can't. I don't have 2 bonus actions. Only 1. So that I don't get inspiration. But
course.
I roll a 1. Of course, I roll
Okay.
a 1.
And
Damn
then,
it!
as he sees your spell fizzle, he chuckles a little bit and he says, "When? Don't kill her. She could be useful."
Well, I still have movement.
You're right by Wen.
Could you choose to appear somewhere else?
Could I have chosen to appear not within melee range of either of them?
If you wanted to be next to Thaddeus,
Because there's a corner square right there that I could...
Thaddeus is in this square. You could have gone here.
Yeah, that's where I would be. And... I mean... What the fuck am I gonna do? I can't outrun them. I can't cast any more spells. I could try to grab him and pull him, but
You could do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I'd do if I can't do it.
So when you're dragging him, you can move half your speed. So you can
So
go
I'll
15.
drag him 15 feet
Back
away,
this way.
as long as I don't pass through any
What's that circle?
melee range.
15, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. The circle here is the pile of... When you came into the room, the beholder was there, and it was like chewing on a robe or something like that. There was like a pile
It's
of
like filth and stuff.
trinkets and things like that were just sort of piled there, and that's where the beholder was.
That would have been awesome if they had worked.
It would have been
I
awesome.
had a feeling you were gonna do that, you bullshit motherfucker!
Then it's Wen's turn. And Wen will say, well, I've got my orders.
You're using Nazria's mini for when?
No, that's not Nazria.
It looks like Nazria's
Look,
mini.
he's got a black beard. It's different.
It just, from here, it looks the same. It's like salt in the wound, man. Salt in the wound.
You thought you did mess up my plan for what I wanted to do this round.
Good! That's something, at least.
Let's see. What will Wen do against you? I think he's just going to make his 3 attacks with his sword.
He said not to kill me.
Yep, he's not trying to. He's going to try and, when he gets close, knock you out. So the first 2 are pretty low. 16 and
I can't
13.
even shield because I fucking used my reaction.
Does a 13 hit you?
Yes!
Okay, so the first 2 hit you. The second one, or the last one, might not. Actually, because it is a... no, it's a 13. Okay.
My AC is 12. I can't use shield because I tried to bend luck. Here comes our PPK. I would have been fine if I had stayed on the stairs. I'm trying to save your ass.
Yeah, this is not good.
Let it go down in history. If I die, it's your fault.
36 points of slashing damage.
Yeah, I'm out.
Okay.
And
so on the last bit, he like gets 2 good strikes on you, and then on the last one, he gets you with the pommel right on the head, and Harmony drops there as well.
And the beholder's back too. So,
True.
God.
Yeah.
And the beholder reappears there, still munching on the robe that he was munching on when he left, and he just sort of looks around. He just sort of surveys the scene for a moment.
Can we like rewind 30 minutes and try this again?
No. Hunter.
Fucking hate mind flares, man.
So close. We managed to use the 1 free.
I'm gonna ask in in my native language.
Which was,
Keen.
yep, the language of Keen. So
And-
Hunter starts speaking, and none of you understand it.
Well, they don't. They're unconscious.
That's true. But Mara
She's-
doesn't
she's
understand
not.
it.
Okay, Win, what do you want? Like, what are you trying to do here?
Look, Hunter, I'm just following orders right now.
He does not.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's gonna trip me up every time. He says, look, Zant, I'm just following orders here. I'm doing what I have to do.
Which is.
What Kuor says I have to do.
So if Core was gone, then what?
Then there would be higher powers at play. And Kuor sort of looks at Wen as he's having this conversation. I don't think that he speaks the language, so he's just sort of like, what are you talking about? What are you saying?
Okay, quiet you, and I'm gonna take some shots out here. This is a jerk.
Okay.
So I'm gonna shoot at Core. Is he like, he's pretty dead, right? Like
He is looking really rough. Like,
Alright.
last session, you got several arrows into him. Thaddeus pumped some Divine Smite into him.
Okay.
So he's got,
And it would have worked.
like, freeze marks on him from Thaddeus' sword, and then his skin is like, you've seen his skin is like dried and cracked.
Okay.
And as your arrows have been puncturing it, you've seen that it just sort of flakes off in like clouds.
Does a 20 hit him?
A 20, I believe, does.
Thing.
Yes.
And then I got a my next attack. So 18.
18 hits as well.
So I have 2 big attacks on him. Let's do the first one. Let's see here. I think. Is he carrying anything?
The only thing he has on him is that saw that he was using, the whirring saw.
No, I don't want to deal with that. Okay.
Because he had the brain in a jar.
Yeah,
from
he gave it to
Helja, but
Wen.
He gave it to Wen.
Could I have? Sorry. Could I have hellish rebukes before I got knocked down?
I think
He
that's
did
a
knock me
reaction
down.
as well.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Okay. Well,
This is why I never use Ben Luck. It's fucking useless.
It can be good.
1d4.
It would have been clutch if it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when can I roll ever above a 2?
Plus, we've given you that extra thing you can
I
do with
know,
Ben
I
Luck, where you
know.
can shift up and down on the wild magic table.
I know, and
so
I haven't
that's
had to do that yet. That's the only thing that was
so I hit him for 27 with the first attack.
good. Okay. That is enough to kill him, actually. So
Okay.
your arrow finds him right, like it embeds itself right in his chest and shoots out through the glass or through the back of his body and sort of shatters the glass a little bit behind
So,
him.
okay. So I said quiet you, and I shot him, and then I'm like, okay, Wen, no more core, get out of here.
Okay.
So let's go.
Um,
Also in game.
You watch as Kuor lets out a horrendous scream, and then his body just starts to like I mentioned, like when you were striking him, it was almost as if you were like shooting through a pile of
Like
ashes,
bugs.
like
Oh, okay.
ashes were just falling off. His skin just sort of explodes in a puff of this ash-like substance, and you can see this like black writhing smoke in between that was concealed underneath that skin, and it goes shooting across the room towards Wen, landing in an amulet that is around Wen's neck.
Wait, what landed in the amulet?
The black writhing smoke that was in
Oh, okay.
inside of Kuor's skin, and you can hear this voice, really high-pitched, enter into your head telepathically.
My
It
head?
says, yes. It says, "This isn't the end for me. Just you wait and see."
Okay.
And then the last of the smoke is sucked into the amulet on Wen's neck, and Wen turns around and looks at you and says, "You're right. I think it is about time that I made my escape."
Right.
Anything else on your turn?
Yeah, I still have another attack. So I'm gonna shoot the butt brain with my second attack,
Okay.
and I got a 28. No, sorry.
28 does hit.
Well, it's actually a 23.
Still hits.
Okay. And that will do. Oh, wow, nice. Okay. 19
Okay.
piercing. I rolled a 1 on the d12.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
I saw that.
Then this beholder creature sort of surveys the screen, and you can see that it like looks over at Wen, and Wen looks back at it, and you can tell there's like some telepathic communication going on between the two of them. And then it is going to. Oh, you know which monster I forgot to get up here? I forgot to get the beholder creature up
flumps,
here
of course,
because
yeah,
he wasn't on the
flumps.
map. I also have the flumps.
They're gonna be our saviors.
You're terrified of me.
But you're dead, so
But
Well, yeah, you're
I'm
unconscious,
not
so
dead, I'm unconscious.
how even?
What's that great?
That's the beholder.
We think. We don't know what
Drax
it
is
is.
the beholder.
you did determine last session that it was, if it is indeed related to beholders,
a
it's a
tree.
lesser one.
It's a mystery.
Because it has less eyes and
It's
some
not as
tentacles.
scary as real beholders. That's exciting. And terrifying.
Let's see.
I know. This one's kinda-
Mara, I need you to make a strength saving throw.
Oh no. So roll a d20, and then you have your saving throws over there.
Hunter, I need a dexterity saving throw.
Oh, okay.
And also from Hunter, I need a wisdom saving throw.
This is why I've done this.
Dexterity is 18,
Okay, that succeeds.
and then
Strength.
wisdom is really good at a 6, but
6. Okay.
I'm considering using Indomitable, so I don't know what you're doing. And I might as
Basically,
well.
rays are starting to shoot out from those those like tentacle eyeballs that he has all
Okay.
around his eye, his main central eye.
What was my roll?
8.
8. Okay, so
Wait, what did you roll for? Strength? Oh, okay, yeah, but yeah, okay.
15. Mara, you get struck by a beam of force that catches you right in the chest and sends you flying back 15 feet. And you feel as if like this force is just like constantly striking against you, and you feel like you'd move a little bit slower if you were to try and move. Did you decide to re-roll the wisdom one?
I think I'll hold it for now. We'll see what happens.
So Hunter, you
So the
basically
dexterity one?
dodge nimbly out of the way as a almost like a flamethrower, a jet of flame erupts from one of the eyes, and you dodge completely out of the way of that. But then there's another ray that strikes you, and it strikes you right in the head, and it's sort of like this yellowish light. And as it strikes you, you feel yourself start to get a little bit woozy, and you fall to the ground to sleep.
Oh, I should have definitely rerolled that.
Then
He's asleep though. He's not dead. Or unconscious. You just have to wake him up.
That might be a good idea.
Pour water on you, you're right.
okay. Then he comes over to here and seems to be waiting by the window for something to happen. Then it is
Waiting for the giant hunters to show up.
Bella's turn. Mara, a 12 doesn't hit your AC, does it?
No, I'm at 14.
Okay. And then I also need you to make an intelligence saving throw. As this brain-like creature claws out at you, misses,
That's
you
not her strong
dodge out of
suit.
the way.
Neither is strength.
But at least you're proficient in
Plus
intelligence.
or minus.
It's a +1.
Okay.
Ooh!
20!
20, okay.
That's a good dice.
And also, as it claws out at you, you feel this like psychic energy start to attack your brain, and it's almost like a really powerful migraine comes on. But you fight that back, and it seems to have no effect on you.
Yeah, luckily with 6 intelligence, your brain is pretty small, so didn't do too much.
Then it is Mara's turn. You've seen all 3 of your allies at this point fall unconscious.
Okay.
I guess technically,
Alright, so what I want to do is reach in my backpack quickly, tear off a strip of my extra clothes, dip it in the oil, set it on fire. Wrap it around one of my arrows, set it on fire, and aim for that guy.
So you're going for a makeshift fire arrow
Yeah.
and aiming for that guy at the
Yeah.
far end? Sure. Go ahead and roll an attack as normal, and if it hits, we'll add some fire damage.
Short bow.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I see an 18.
Fade.
yeah.
Let me double check, but I don't think it hits.
An 8.
No, he doesn't have high AC, but he has higher than 8. So he sort of, it goes right between 2 of his flailing tentacles, and he sort of looks at you a little bit. And he's got this like piercing central blue eye that just sort of stares into your soul. But he doesn't do anything because it's your turn. Anything else on your turn? You could use your bonus action to disengage so you could get away from him.
I don't think she used to use disengage. As
What?
I have uncanny dodge
That's not
with
it.
fancy footwork.
and I have fancy footwork.
Yeah, she can't bonus action disengage. She can,
No,
She can.
yeah, I think
You should be able to.
All roads can.
I think they get that at like level 3 or something.
Very early.
Oh, it's with a melee attack. Oh, never mind.
yeah,
Oh,
fancy
you're right, yeah.
footwork is a creature that she's made a melee attack against.
Yeah, so yeah, you can do that.
You could use your bonus action to step away. You could use it to run quickly.
I don't have
So I
Or
can't-
you could-
can't do that double-handed thing because I use the thing
No, correct.
to s-
Yes.
reach back and swipe the brain.
What you could do is use a bonus attack to make an attack with your offhand weapon. And if that hits, then you can run.
That could work.
Okay.
So you bring down, what do you have in your offhand? Was it a dagger?
There you
or
go.
a-
It's only right.
It was, yeah, it was a dagger
Okay, so you go make an attack with the dagger.
Did I?
on the little brain. Okay.
Oh, I did. Yeah, there it is. Cunning action.
Okay. Ooh. That 18 plus 6, 24.
24 hits, easily. So
You
roll the
get-
damage,
you
and
get
you
sneak
get
attack?
sneak attack, because he's the only one right next to you.
Well, she would also get sneak attack anyway, right? Because of her
Yeah.
flashback awareness.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so I get D4
Plus 3d6? 46.
plus
What
sneak
is she?
attack 3d6.
What is she name with?
The dagger.
The dagger.
You're level 6.
So it's
So
a
1d4
D4 and
and
3d6.
and 3d6.
There you go. Get him.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
That's pretty good so far.
Where'd
Yeah,
that one
good.
come from?
Roll that way.
And you don't get the.
No.
Okay, cool. So that's
Okay.
it.
So that's a 3.
no, it's just the one.
Oh, I don't get the 3?
For the offhand weapon.
It's the offhand
Oh,
weapon.
okay. So 14.
14, okay.
Right in the brain.
And that is enough, actually, to basically you plunge the dagger in as he's sort of not expecting you to have the quickness after you've made your bow shot. But you plunge your dagger in and you pull it down across the brain. It sort of splits in half and lays writhing there on the floor, dead.
Oh, here's the thing.
Well, that's one way to disengage.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so you still have movement if you want to do anything else.
Yeah, I want to get closer to try to wake you up.
Okay. Could you just boot me?
He does just look sort of like he's asleep. So you think if you spent some time trying to shake him awake or something like that, you could probably get him up. He doesn't look like Harmony and Thaddeus, who look pretty badly injured.
I think you'd have to do that on next turn.
And Thaddeus, I do need a death save.
Yes.
So I killed both friends.
You did.
Okay. 2
Too
successes.
bad I can't.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus 4.
Then it is Harmony's turn, and I need a death save from Harmony.
You know, you were joking about Mandus coming to save us earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
I really want that now.
Ethan said it could happen.
13.
13. Okay, so there's a success for you. Then Wen sort of surveys the room, and Mara, you're the only one awake to see this. He pulls out a bow off of his back. He retracts the greatsword back into his arm on like mechanical pulleys and things like that. It just shifts up in and then locks in there. Then he pulls a bow off his back, and where Hunter's bow already started shattering the glass, he fires 1, 2, 3 shots with perfect precision that just shatter the glass. And then he turns to you and says, "If I were you, I'd get to healing your friends." And then he unstrings the bowstring, drops it on the floor, and says, "For that one," and points his head over to Hunter. And then turns and runs and leaps off the edge of the tower, out of sight. Basically, he runs out the hole he created, off the balcony, and then leaps out of sight. Hunter, you are unconscious. You can't really
I'm
do
having a
anything.
really good dream though, so don't wake me up.
Braxis, the beholder, then looks longingly sort of at this pile of trinkets over there, and then looks back at Wen, who left, and it floats its way out the same way that he went, and then downward. But you can see as it goes, each one of its tentacle eyes is looking back at the pile of trinkets. even
It's
as
like
it
one
goes.
tear falls down.
And it leaves. And then it is Mara's turn again.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to wake him up, I guess.
Okay.
I'll shake you. Come on.
Yeah,
Here,
you can
wake
use
up.
your action, shake him
Wake up.
awake, and so Hunter, you sort of groggily come back to consciousness.
Get living at him!
And as you come back up to consciousness, you can see that the room is empty, with the exception of these 2 flumps
Okay.
that are just basically
So-
over at Harmony, bouncing on her corpse. Like, yeah, stay down!
Don't
You vile
call it
beast!
corpse, I'm still alive!
So I'm gonna. Are we still in initiative or can we just do that?
We're still in
Yeah.
initiative until we find out whether someone
that
dies.
doesn't count
Okay,
as
so
a melee attack.
is it my
because
turn?
I did not.
Or
No, it's
It's
Mara's
still,
turn
it's
still.
still my turn. Okay, so
Okay, go help
he's
them.
awake, so I'll move over to help everybody else.
Yep, you can get up there.
If you got a potion or something, you can use an action as a bonus action now.
I don't have a potion.
She can?
Yeah.
You can also dig through Harmony stuff to take your potion.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
action.
I thought it was just to disengage, dash, hide, or help.
I thought it was using.
I literally just read it.
Did dash, disengage, or hide, but Tavern
Oh,
Brawler,
you can
I
bonus
can
action.
You probably-
use improvise weapons.
Rogues do get this like use object trait. I think that's what you're thinking of, but I
Yeah,
think
but-
it's slightly higher level.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
She doesn't put that
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
You can draw Confusing.
But yeah, you can rummage around Harmony's pack and you find a potion in there. However,
I have quite a few.
Oh, it's
probably-
fast hands. I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The thief one, the level 3 thief.
that probably takes up
Oh,
your
if you're a thief.
action and such, so I think that's
Yeah,
about it.
that's
So you
use
would
an
end the
object.
turn with a potion in hand and ready to help.
Okay.
Thaddeus, I need one more from you. You might stabilize.
We'll call it
Well,
a sleight of hand.
Okay, Thaddeus is still bleeding out. Harmony, another one from you.
Well,
Okay, 2 successes for Harmony.
Looking alright.
I mean,
Things are
Enter.
okay. Alright, so I'm gonna run. So Mara's helping.
Harmony.
she was digging for
Harmony.
her bag.
Okay,
Yep.
so then I'll help Thaddeus.
Okay.
Did you find the potions?
I found a potion.
Did you find 2 potions?
How many
One.
potions do you have?
I have 6.
6? Yeah, you found 2 potions.
So
Give me
fine.
one.
Okay, here you go.
Okay, so then I'm going to give one to Thaddeus.
So that's 2d4 plus 2 if it's a regular one.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a regular. Just one of the ones that I just found in the library.
So that's weird. They're both on different sides. 5.
Okay, that's enough.
And Thaddeus, you come to consciousness, gasping
Oh, thank
for breath
goodness.
as the healing potion fills your
And then I'm
lungs.
immediately going to look at these flumps with angry eyes.
They sort of like look away.
Ah, this one's scary
I'm
too!
gonna like start like swinging at him, like playfully, like not actually.
Who's next?
Next up is Mara. So you can pour the potion down Harmony's throat if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
2d4.
Mara, I actually thought it was. Wait, hang on. We don't need to use one.
In which case, then if you want to hold off or
You want to let him go
you
then?
defer to Thaddeus? Okay, Thaddeus'
away.
turn comes around.
Gross, the trouble child. Stop that.
Thaddeus will bring Harmony back to full.
With lay on hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Harmony, your breath comes back into your lungs and you see Thaddeus standing over you, attempting to heal you.
Looking pretty rough.
What happened?
We miscalculated. They were much stronger than we expected.
Do I notice any bow parts sitting around that no
I
one
don't
told
think
me
you're
about?
telling me that.
Do you want to make a perception check to look around the room?
I want
Basically, as Harmony comes back to
I don't think your
consciousness,
answer-
these
you have no
flumps
idea.
flee in terror out the window that went open up.
They were the real foes. Okay, so yeah, I want to look around the room.
Yeah, I want to rummage through that pile.
I want to attend to Helja.
To what?
To Helja. Yeah, her body's over there. So we'll just go
Brain.
around.
I think it's an attempt.
They have her brain now. Okay.
Did they? Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Wen had it.
When
Yeah.
took it.
Shit.
So you're looking around the room. You spot there's a lot of things I didn't draw on the map. There's like a bed, like a big 4-poster bed that is against the window somewhere. There's several bookshelves. There's tables covered with arcane alembics and books
Mm-hmm.
and papers and all kinds of things like that. There's this pile of just trinkets and other objects that is sort of piled here in the corner where the beholder was eating the robe.
I didn't understand that.
And you would see the noticeable differences in the room from before you fell asleep are the gaping hole in the glass where Wen escaped, as well as the bowstring that is lying on the ground.
Okay, so I will inspect the bowstring and be like, what's this? And then also, I want to pick up my arrows.
Okay.
As many as I can salvage, and I want to check out the pile of filth.
How many arrows did you use?
I used 6.
6. Okay, so you can get 3 of them back. A couple of them like shattered upon impact with Wen and things like that.
Yeah, and like against the window.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
And then you pick up the bowstring. Go ahead and roll an Arcana check.
Okay. I I got a 17.
Okay. Unlike normal bowstring, which is made of like usually hairs and different things like that, like I think you would make a bowstring out of like horse hairs or something like that, probably.
So, yeah.
I'm not exactly sure, but it's not made of the typical material a bowstring would be made of. Instead, it seems to be made of this like tendinous, almost. It's almost organic material. And you can't quite tell exactly what it is until you get to you're examining it and you get to the ends of it, and you can see at the end, each end, there are two like lacquered eyeballs, and you sort of reason that these must be like really long eye stalks that have been used to make this bowstring.
Ew.
And it's very clearly special in some way, but you're not quite exactly sure what it would do.
Maybe they're my eyes. Right? That'd be kind of weird.
Mara, what were you doing?
I wanted to inspect the pile.
Okay.
Rummage through the
No,
pile.
like
Go ahead and
Xan's
roll
eyes.
an investigation check.
They're probably beholder.
you think so?
Eyes? I don't know. What else has very long eye stalks?
Those are both weird.
Which one?
I know.
Yeah, they are.
8.
8. You dig through the pile, and
These reset.
there's a lot of things here. Most of them seem to have bite marks out of them. So, like, you'll pull out a book, and it'll have a bite mark out of it. Or you'll pull out a gem that will have a bite mark out of it. And they're just, like, varying sizes of bite marks. Something went through this pile and just bit every single thing. But there's a lot of things here that sort of seem to have the vibe of, like, magical potential. Like, it's something a wizard would have for a magical purpose. You're not really sure what any of them would do. And you do find sort of at the bottom of the pile, as you spend quite a bit of time rummaging, there is a book that does not have a bite out of it. And you sort of push the things away and inspect it. And it does seem to be a mundane leather-bound book in this black leather with a like a gold clasp on it. And it just says on the cover, Ipfi's Grimoire of Sealing.
Okay. Grab it and put it in my backpack.
Are you trying to be sneaky about it?
Yes.
Okay. Then go ahead and roll a sleight of hand check as well. What's everyone's passive perception?
12.
12. Not the most observant bunch this group.
Ooh, 21.
Okay. Yeah, so you
Mean
slip it
19.
into your bag without anyone noticing
13?
seemingly.
Plus,
I'm sorry, 13 plus, what is that?
It's
Alright.
okay. You
Sleight of
passed.
hand.
It's okay.
plus 6. Is that what it says?
Yeah, so 19.
Okay.
You know what it said?
It's 21.
Oh,
You definitely said 21.
sorry.
That's alright though. It still passes.
I guess that's what I said.
And then Harmony, what are you doing?
I guess I'll walk over to Helja's body with Thaddeus.
Okay, so you're both over there.
Yeah.
Thaddeus, what are you going to try to do?
Can I make a medicine check to figure out how long ago she died?
You can definitely do that.
I'll help.
Oh, yeah!
22.
22.
If that helps.
It's, I mean, judging by the pools of blood that have not yet like dried into the floorboards, you know it was relatively recent, like within a span of hours. So you basically narrow it down with your check to anywhere between a few minutes, but it's certainly been a few minutes, to maybe 2 or 3 hours, somewhere in there.
Great. That's the answer I was hoping. No.
Sometime when we were sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Titus doesn't feel as like too bad because he did come up here at full strength and just got destroyed.
Yeah. So what would have happened if we'd come up here?
Well, we would have
Yeah,
helped
we
helping us
would've-
potentially
Yeah,
too.
it would have happened either way.
I don't know.
Unless they were tired too.
Or if
Yeah,
Helja,
it's
well,
previous,
we would have had
right?
Helja helping us too. So we would have had a very
Yeah.
strong wizard helping us.
Not necessarily.
We didn't even learn that, did we? Why they're taking the brains.
We
Well, at
don't
least we know
have
it's
any
them.
spell to talk to the dead, do you?
Actually, I don't think that's paladin spell. Let me check real quick.
Can I look through the file?
Sure. Roll an investigation check.
I just did, Spaz. I mean,
Yeah, you were looking for one
To be
specific
fair,
thing,
she
though, aren't
always
you?
wanted us to
no,
figure out what
I
happened to
was
her.
looking for
Yeah.
everybody.
Do you want one of these books that were flopping around? How about these books? Do you want these books?
You found a lot of things,
Most
but
of them have
you were
bite
sort of definitely looking for
Yeah,
that
an
one
agenda,
thing more than
yeah.
others, I think.
So 12.
12.
For anything that of our party's interest.
There are a few things of your party's interest that don't have bite marks out of them.
Okay.
And they're all towards the bottom of the pile.
Okay.
There's a tube with a wax-sealed top. It's sort of like a leather tube with a wax-sealed top. There is a pair of gloves that have like this spider-like silk design work to them.
Okay.
And then there is a set of chainmail that has this unnatural sparkle to it, as well as several gems that don't seem to have bite marks out of them.
Okay, so I'll grab those things.
Just because
I get a book.
I don't want to remember it later.
I'm writing
The
it down
gems
right
are going to be worth about 500 gold pieces in total.
Okay,
It's just sort of various small gems.
500 GP. Okay. So tube, chainmail, and gloves. The chainmail with, you said like a glow?
Yeah, it's got like this slight shimmery sparkle to it. Oh, and there's one more thing. There's a bottle of some kind of liquid.
I'll grab that too.
It's sort of like a clear, almost like an airy liquid to it. Like it looks as if the liquid in there almost floats when you shake it
Okay.
for a second.
Can I would bring it to Harmony and see if she can help me identify it with her alchemical knowledge. And then you said gloves with like silky or spidery?
Yeah, with like a spider web design work.
Okay.
Woven into them with silk or something like that.
Like this.
Okay, got it. Cool.
No, to clear it. Like,
Okay, awesome.
I guess once we figure out that she's, you know, how long she's been dead,
Yeah.
I'll probably walk over to the giant hole in the wall that I made and just look out of it.
Yeah, and basically you walk out onto the balcony and there's this 4 or 5 foot tall railing that you have to sort of stand on your tiptoes to look over because you're so short.
Mm-hmm.
But as you look over, you can see that the tower drops steeply down into the streets of Farendal below, and you're looking out onto the fourth and uppermost layer of the city, and you can see the Thimblefoot factory and all of the places that you saw when you went on your train tour around the top layer of the city. And as you look up into the sky, it's actually around nighttime because you came in here early morning and then took a long rest.
Yeah.
So you can see the moon and stars up above, and it's sort of a picturesque night over Farendal.
That is supposed to take. Now that you're talking about Thimblefoot again, I remembered. I want to take the buzzsaw that the Illithid was using.
And sort of investigate it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
well, I take it with me.
Yeah, you can
But I
pick that up.
definitely also want to take it.
It's basically dropped on the ground in a pile of what is like dust or ashes from where Kuor died.
Oh, did he leave any remains or just like literally like dust and ashes?
There's his cloak with the it's the black cloak with the white hand and the eye with the purple iris
You might want to take
I'll take
on
that.
the hood.
Yeah.
Take that. Okay.
Is there any other things?
Other than that, what might he have on him? There is a spellbook there.
Okay.
And you sort of leaf through it, but you're not really able to gain too much out of it. Even Harmony with her arcane knowledge probably wouldn't know what a lot of the spells in there are.
Okay, so spellbook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm gonna hand Harmony the potion. Be like, we found this in the pile over there.
You can come out on the balcony.
Oh, are you on the balcony?
Yeah.
I'll wait for her to come back in then. I also want to go out there though, so I'll do that later.
I was going to ask Mara what happened. Did we get any of them?
When Harmony fell, the Beholder came back in. I wasn't able to strike him with my flaming arrow. It missed. But we got the other brain, so the brains are both dead.
What about
And then
the surgeon? Did we get the surgeon?
No.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah, Hunter did.
Yeah.
That's small victory, I guess.
Yeah.
And then
But the beholder and Wen got away.
and Gwen just kind of blew a hole in the wall with his arrows and escaped with a dire warning.
So, okay. So what is everyone doing right now? So,
Might as well finish.
Army's outside.
Thaddeus is lifting the body. He's going to carry the body back down to the street.
Helya's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you do anything to like? I mean, the head is essentially
Yeah.
covered in blood. Are you
Right.
going to cover it up or
Yeah,
something?
I should definitely cover that.
There's a pile of rags, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a half-chewed robe
Yeah.
over in that pile.
Yeah, I'm going to tie it around the head.
And then I'll take a walk around the room and look for anything else that
Okay.
value.
Roll an investigation check.
Got a 1, natural 1,
Um,
3.
You find a lot of papers and research notes on various things, new spells, new items that she was going to work on making. You find a few official-looking legal documents of some sort, but they are really convoluted and not really all that interesting.
Okay.
Like in the entire page, you sort of skim. You don't see any sentence that has any actual content to it. It's just like legal gibberish.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's about it.
So nothing of like pristine value or anything. So, okay. So I'll just call for Harmony then. Harmony.
Yes, we're gonna go. We'll go back inside.
See anything out there?
We're a long way up.
And I'm gonna like walk over to the balcony and not need to get on my tippy toes and look out the window.
Yep, and you can see all the way down, especially with your. It's dark, but like with the aid of your scope, and there's street lights and things like that
Mm-hmm.
in the city. You can look all the way down 100 feet or so below to the streets of Farendale, and you can see the taxis with their headlights milling about the streets.
Do we
picking
see the one
people up.
crazy taxi driving around?
No, not here.
You did that. Leave him
Okay.
alone. I'll go back out with him if he goes out to the balcony.
Yeah, I'm looking around.
I'll be like on my tiptoes, looking down. I'll say, "Did you know that guy?
In my
the one that
previous
looked like
life,
you? Who was that?"
I'm assuming it was one of my friends.
Hunter, as Harmony asks this question, and you say, "I'm assuming it was one of my friends," your vision
Oh
goes
no.
black for a second.
I fall over the ledge, don't I?
So, Harmony, you basically watch as Hunter starts to like stare and zone out into space, and you, as your vision fades to black
Mhm.
and then fades back in,
Okay.
you see in front of you at first only blackness, and you feel the biting cold of snow, and then
Okay.
after a moment or so. You sort of your brain feels confused and addled, but then after a moment or so, you get control of your senses again, and you realize you're buried in snow, and you begin to claw and dig your way out. And after a moment, you can see light, and you dig frantically back up through the snowbank, through to the light. And when you dig your way out of the snowbank, you see in daylight the ruined village, the sort of burned wreckage of your village.
Mhm.
If you recall your last vision that you had
Yeah.
of your past life. You saw these black hooded, black robed figures basically burning your village, and you saw one of them pulling your mother and sister out of your house.
Yeah.
And then out into the snow, and then one of them, while you were distracted by that, caught you with a spell that knocked you unconscious. And then you seem to be waking up in the moments after that, except for
Okay.
it's daylight now. Hours have passed since you were
Sure.
supposed to be getting back from whatever hunt you were on. And you can just see the devastation of the village. There are bodies scattered here and there, and there's still buildings that smolder and smoke, and even some of them seem to be burning a little bit. And you can just see that the twin peaks that your village is sort of perched near on this mountain, off in the distance, and the smoke is sort of rising up and obscuring them a little bit. Then, as you're standing there sort of surveying the devastation, a figure starts to crawl its way towards you across the snow. Injured, but not dead. You see a figure you've seen in your visions before, though less scruffy, more well-shaven. His hair is trimmed much cleaner than last time you saw him. You see Wen.
Of course I do.
And he comes over to you, and he sort of crawls his way to you, and he like pulls himself up next to you, and pulls himself up into a sit, painfully, sort of clutching his ribs. And he just looks at you and he says, "I'm sorry, Xant. They came suddenly. None of us could do anything. There were just too many of them." And he sort of like winces with pain again. "I think they got in. I think they got into the mountain. I saw them dragging off your sister and mother, and the only reason I could think they would do that is if they needed to get into the mountain. And your sister and mother are the only ones who can get in there." And then he sort of pauses again and sort of like lays back in the snow, sort of like just breathing heavily. And you sort of, the vision that you have starts to blur a little bit, and you eventually realize that the hunter that you're seeing, or this vision that you're seeing of yourself in the past through your past eyes, you're crying, and there are tears welling up in your eyes.
So sad.
But you remain silent, and then Gwen continues, and he says, "I think that if they got in, there's really only one thing we can do. This country is completely fallen if they got in. We need to seek outside help. We have to go beyond the smoke, beyond the fog, to the outside world." And then as he says that, the vision begins to fade to black again. Okay. And you find yourself with Harmony waving her hand in front of you on the balcony.
Sorry, I was spacing out, remembering things when you asked. He was a tribesman with me, or was it? Would we call it a tribe at that point, or was it like a?
It was more of a village.
Okay, he was one of the clansmen.
One of your
fellow village people.
And why was he fighting with them?
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Has he always looked like that?
No.
So
we were human once.
So the same thing that happened to you happened to him.
Yeah. But maybe for him it was
Hunter. Actually, Hunter and Harmony, because you were the only two there. Roll a history check.
Okay. Ah, perfect. 7.
Mine's much better than that.
Oh, good. Goodness.
Yes, history is the wrong one for it. Maybe just intelligence, but...
Ah, perfect. A 7.
17.
17.
History is intelligence.
Harmony, you have yourself a flashback to the moments when you first woke up Hunter, and you were trying to escape the Deep Gnome's workshop, where Hunter was apparently created and then given life in his new Warforged body. And you recall Potik saying something about a control inhibitor that wasn't working correctly as Hunter pumped him full of arrows. And that's about all you remember hazily.
A control inhibitor? So he's being controlled?
It's possible.
I mean,
that's what I was supposed to be
obviously
too.
Wasn't working for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
so I'm
I'm
probably a defect in that way.
We can blame Tal for that.
So.
I mean, are you okay? You had
No.
to fight your friend.
No. But I think we'll make it.
Well, I'm here for you.
Thank you.
No matter what. Like, I know our friends have changed, but I'm here still.
Yeah, we still have a long ways to go.
You can start any time.
What are you doing here?
Thaddeus has in the meantime snuck up behind you and is just sort of standing there brutally in the opening in the glass.
And I'm just waiting for them to finish and go back downstairs.
Is Helja like over your shoulder?
Yeah, report to
There's like
Cial.
blood pooling.
Female dwarven body over his shoulder, dripping slightly.
Report to Cial. Got it.
I guess technically it's mission accomplished because now we know the
We
state of
located her anyway.
yeah. It's unfortunate. There still is that lower level thing.
Yeah, that diamond.
That what?
Oh, not the. Well, there's still the diamond. I don't really care about that anymore.
Okay.
Let's just go find Seal.
Yeah, that'd probably be the best.
Who was it? Did you ever share your letter with the rest of us?
So we got it when we killed the giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, we three know about it
Okay. Yeah.
because we went up to the deck and then we read it. One of us read it to the others.
The storm giant?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there's still a problem. Still someone at large helping.
Who?
but yeah, I mean, so the
June?
oh, so you guys were unconscious, but then I would
so
tell you.
This is from the illithid then.
Yeah, so you guys were unconscious when I was talking to Wen about it, and we were talking in our native language, but 4 was the illithid, or the mind flayer.
Right.
So I'm seeing a June.
And then I would...
Orin?
June was the wizard who you took the letter off of, who got killed by the giant.
That makes sense because it was addressed to June. This makes a lot more sense now that with more context. We'll read it for the readers. Read it for the viewers.
Do it. Read it.
June, I'm making progress here in Farendale. I've secured 4 of the 8 for Orin, but the remainder remained elusive. Do not fear, however, because Wen and I may have secured a potential ally to help root them out. I do hope your attempt to lure the ancient giant from his lair is successful. We need that soul for Orin's plans to come into fruition within the proper time frame. So Orin's still
at large, and whoever they have helping them ferret out.
Is Orin the leader?
Potentially.
It sounds like a leader. And June, we took out. The ancient giant was captured.
Yes.
June's dead. Core's dead. Don't need to worry about that.
So when
some ally, potential ally.
That's
when I would also explain that when the mind flayer was slain, that his essence went back into this necklace that Wen was wearing, and he whispered to me.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, he was. What's the word for that? Encapsulated,
undead?
Or undead, or he was in. He got transferred into this necklace. And then
so we didn't even get that one.
And then whispered to me that it's not over yet.
Well, if somebody didn't bum rush the guy and get himself knocked down the first 6 seconds of the fight.
I thought I was in the fight much
leaving your
harder
weakest
than I thought.
part again.
I think you had the right idea to end it quickly. Unfortunately, we weren't strong enough to do so.
It sounds to me like you need to work better with your team than trying to rush in things by yourself.
Next time.
That probably could have been better executed, but that's okay. We're all alive. Somehow. As Hunter kicks one of the brains.
Yeah, it just sort of like squelches.
Now.
Splits.
So this potential ally, do you think it was the Beholder, or is this someone we haven't heard?
There's no way to tell. Maybe it's Seal.
No, it wouldn't be Seal. Anyway, let's get out of here. I just don't want to be in
this
this
is a sad place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go back to Seal's shop.
Alright, so we'll make our way down. I don't think... Was there anything we wanted to do while we're here? Or are we just going to beeline out of here? Okay.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Yes,
I am
were there
curious...
Any potions or anything lying around that we wanted to grab up for you?
I think.
Did all of the... Since Helja's
reminds
dead,
me,
did all of the fog and everything go away? Or are they still? Is it still enchanted?
It's still enchanted.
Okay.
Is there a door on every level into this
Yeah.
tower?
Supposedly.
Because we can just leave the tower on this level.
I would rather do that.
Yeah, we can do that. Or leave the tower on Seal's level. But it's nighttime.
Sail's not necessarily on their level.
Ah, that's true.
Anyway,
Did
because
you have a potion you wanted to ask her about?
I already... Oh,
you
yeah.
haven't asked me about a potion yet.
Yeah, and then...
You had a flashback.
Yeah, sorry, I got distracted. In that pile, I found some things and that we'll look at later, but I found this. I'll give you the potion with the airy liquid, hoping you can help identify it.
You have...
I have the potion identifying book.
Yes, so make your Arcana check with advantage.
Not this one. Okay.
So far, this
Alright,
one's been
well,
pretty good.
it's not so bad. 14?
Okay. You leaf through the pages, and it takes you a minute until you find one that sort of matches the physical characteristics of this potion. But
Can I
when
be
you
doing
do,
this as we're walking?
Yeah.
No, I just put you on my shoulder for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I'm riding 100 shoulders.
Perfect.
I've got the book
That's like your
on
normal
his
spot.
head.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
the size
really-
of a small
I'm just-
child.
After you leaf through, there's really only one that sort of matches the description at all, and it is a potion of flying. So when you drink the potion, for 1 hour, you gain a flying speed equal to your walking
Are
speed.
you writing it on your inventory?
I'm erasing it because I
Oh.
gave it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll hold on to it then. 1 hour, you get a flying speed of what?
Equal to your walking speed.
Okay.
So for you, that's 30. I think for most of you, that's 30. In fact, that's probably for all of you.
Except for Thaddeus with the boots, right?
They don't actually make faster.
They just let him jump really far.
I ignore difficult terrain.
Oh,
and I
okay.
can jump.
And we still got this 9th level spell scroll
Sure.
of dispel magic that we didn't have to use.
Just
So
keep it, I guess.
yeah,
Could come in handy
yeah.
somewhere down the line.
Unless CL asks for it back. If CL asks for it, we used it.
I'll leave that to you. She already lost one of her friends. I don't really
Like
want to lie
stuff
to her.
it into my bag.
So, okay.
Okay. So you make your way back through the tower, and I'm not going to make you roll a check or anything like that, because after a certain amount of time wandering through the mists and cobwebs that guard this tower, you do find your way back to an entranceway that's very similar to the one you came in, except it seems like as you're leaving, the wall of force that trapped you in originally doesn't trigger, and there's no snails for you to fight in the mist. You find your way back to the...
Are we going all the way back to the first floor?
No, it's a very similar entranceway, except
Oh.
for as you're going this direction, no traps trigger.
I see. Sorry, I misunderstood.
And you make your way out from there and find yourself on the 4th layer of the city. And even though it is late at night, there are still several taxis bustling about, and you can see most of them are picking up gnomish figures who seem to be in various work attire. Some of them are in like engineering overalls.
Oh,
Some of them are in more like business suit type attire with like a jacket and a tie.
before we leave, I'm like, wait, open the door, then shut the door. I'm like, we need disguises real quick.
Oh, I can't. I can't.
Okay.
You have a robe though, right? That you can just wear.
Oh, this one I pulled the one with like big flame
Yeah,
burns.
that one. I accidentally burned.
Do I have any other clothes?
I
have my nice clothes.
Yeah, you can take a minute to change the
I
dress.
don't have
Alright, I'll
any
wear my
spell
noble's
slots left
clothes.
or that disguise spell. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I used it
Well,
to
actually-
try to banish the beholder.
I can't put on. No, I can't do that.
So
I have to
you're
take them off my plates. So. Alright.
So you open the door out. Hunter
Yeah.
is clad in his robe. You've got the body of Helja, but it's covered with a robe tied around the head. Mara, are you going with them
For now, yeah.
for now? Okay.
We're just like assuming your company, like.
And then,
We're
yeah,
just like
We'll introduce you to see how we going.
you make your way. Are you going to take a taxi or walk?
I'm too tired to walk.
Okay.
But you just slept.
Also, I don't want to carry this dead dwarf up and down
Yeah.
the street.
So
Yeah.
a taxi pulls up and opens up. A gnomish figure walks around the corner of the car and opens up the back door, and then gets a look at what you're carrying and says, "Wait, is that a body? What are you carrying there?"
no,
She's very drunk. She's passed out. Had too much.
Oh,
I've never seen a dwarf passed out before. How do you have that?
no, they're very sturdy. I've seen them boisterous in the bars, but never passed out. That looks serious. You might want to keep her head propped up
Yes.
and just sort of like. You're not quite sure whether the gnome believes you or not, but they're just like willing to like let it slide as long as it doesn't cause trouble. So they then open up the door and sort of usher you all in.
Do we all fit?
One of you has to sit up front,
Okay.
Also different. I'm
Okay.
a little.
and the gnome is just like constantly glancing over at you as you're driving.
Me?
Yeah.
Because I'm a tiefling.
Mhm.
And I'll be talking to the gnome like, don't worry, this happens all the time. She's drunk all the time.
Well, I mean, okay, so I didn't want to be racist, but I do know that dwarves like to drink. I know that much. So...
I mean, this one basically wrote the stereotype, all single-handedly.
Okay, just, yeah, keep her safe.
You wouldn't believe it.
Don't...
3 kegs!
Keep the head
all
up.
by herself.
And
need
then
some
while
water?
this is happening,
No, that's fine.
I'm gonna ask Thaddeus, do we want to go to the Dusty Bottle or the
To the shop.
straight to the shop? Okay,
Straight to the shop.
so we'll tell him to go to the rough area of the seal shop, unless he knows where that is.
Yeah, so he actually pulls out an address book and flips through it for a minute. Finds Ciel's shop on the 3rd layer of the city, and then begins to drive. And you said you're trying to make conversation with him?
I'm like...
Yeah, he's like actively trying not to talk to you.
like, just...
Like he's
talking
politely
at him?
responding, but he's you can tell it's one of those things where like each response is geared to try and end the conversation there.
And I'm just rambling.
Okay.
I don't really care that he's not talking to me.
He's very uncomfortable.
I'm just rambling. I'm trying to distract him from the fact that it's not actually a living drunk person.
And then yeah, after a very uncomfortable car ride for him that takes probably 10-15 minutes or so, he pulls up in front of what you now know to be Ciel's shop. It's that very I mean, at this point, it's not very decorative at all because it sort of has those mirrored windows and the simple sign that says Ciel's Farendale branch. But you do see like the same sign on the door that says closed until completion of prior business or something like that.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question. This is a mechanics question. If my spell gets counterspell, does the slot still get extended?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Those pending resolution in person. I don't know why I wrote that down, but I do.
Yep, so that's exactly what it says. As soon as you're all out, the gnome just cuts back into
You
traffic.
didn't even
and
ask
gets
for
out.
money. Okay, fine.
No, he seems to have forgotten entirely.
I'm gonna try the door, see if it's open.
Seems locked.
That is called y'all. We're back. Please open up.
Okay. You wait about
that was that thing.
a minute or two, but then you hear sort of a commotion coming as like some things are being knocked over in the shop, and you hear someone say something like it might have been a profanity or something as they like stub their toe or something like that.
Does it sound like Ciel's voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the door opens and you can see Ciel in the most gaudy, audacious, is that a word?
Yes.
Yeah.
Audacious pajamas you have ever seen. They're just like these emerald green button up things with like these
You might be looking for ostentatious.
ostentatious. That's
Yes.
the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
With like these swirling, spiraling,
Of course.
patterns to them.
Different colored hair things and stuff too this time.
Yeah, Ciel's hair is sort of like a bob cut, and the it's like sort of swooshed to the side. This raven jet black hair is sort of swooshed to the side over one of the eyes, which are green, bright piercing green, and the fringe of the hair of the swoosh part is the same color green as the pajamas. And Ciel sort of takes in the sight and says, "Wow, you guys look awful. But I take it that means you completed my mission?"
Don't look as bad as her.
And then Ciel's eyes kind of fall to the ground. Well, to be honest, that's the results I feared. Hurry, get in. We need to talk.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll
Yeah.
usher in then.
And as you come in, you see the table like scutters a little bit towards you, but then Ciel waves it away.
We
Crack my
brandish our
knuckles.
weapons at it.
And
I like
Ciel-
hold up
Ciel
my
waves it
staff
away.
threateningly.
And then motions you back behind the counter, where you can see that one of the cupboards on the lower part of the cabinet is open, and Ciel just basically opens it and crawls all the way in. Whereas it looks like this cabinet is only probably 2 feet deep, Ciel has crawled entirely into it.
I follow her without question.
Can I fit?
Yeah, you can fit through. It's sort of like one of those things where like magic is clearly at play.
Yeah.
You wouldn't physically fit normally, but you find as you try to squeeze in, your dimensions sort of shrink a little bit
Okay.
and then expand outward again.
Weird.
That has to be
Very
weird
comically.
feeling.
That is unslings Hellia's body and like shoves it through the portal and then crawls.
I'll like pull it on the
Crawls
other
through.
side.
Notably, the graffiti you left on the wall has been cleaned off.
I kind of assume that's fine.
Is Defender Hunter here somewhere too, or is he locked
You
away?
can see the closet is closed where he was.
I'm gonna give him a glare and then I'll go in.
Mara, are you following them
No.
into this cabinet?
No, I think I'll leave you guys here. I have some business to
Oh.
take care of.
Do you want to like make a stealth check and sneak off?
Oh, wait, are you telling us that or not?
No, she's not.
She just said you can't make herself.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Probably.
Probably not.
this one.
And also-
Ooh.
Is the 22.
22.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. that beats all
As
of
you're
our
all sort of like
passive
making your way
perception.
into Cial's cabinets, you don't notice as Mara actually doesn't really enter the shop. She sort of goes to enter the door and then turns around and walks back the other way down the street. I think we'll switch to Mara first.
Okay.
Mara.
Okay.
Where are you headed to?
I'm assuming that Alyssa and I have a prearranged place to meet, so I'm heading in that direction.
Yeah, there's a alley down on the first layer of the city where you were told to meet her. And you were told that if you get into any serious trouble while you're by yourself, not while you're with the group, you have a badge you can flash that establishes you as a member of the Undercity Sisterhood, which will get you out of any trouble with thugs.
Wow.
Nice.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
But you were
Knew I shouldn't have
specifically
trusted
told
her.
not to use it while the others were around.
I knew it. That's why I don't trust her.
So you wend your way through the streets. Even though you don't know the city itself very well, you know cities pretty well, and you can find your way down to the stairwell that leads to the first layer. And you make your way through the dark streets, following rats at your leisure.
Yeah, I bet
Nice
you
touch.
do. I bet you do.
And you find your way to the place where Alyssa is supposed to meet you. And you stand there waiting for a few minutes just in darkness, and you can see gangs of sort of like delinquent teenagers and things like that go by the alleyway occasionally, laughing and like passing a bottle back and forth. But none of them give you any trouble because you're kind of hidden back in the shadows of this alleyway. And after a few minutes of hiding there, emerging from a shadow in the other direction, comes Alyssa, clad in her tight black leather, with her black hair sort of tied back in a ponytail. And she sort of leans against the wall next to you and says, "So, you did it.
How'd you know?
You just have the look about you of someone who completed their first mission. I've seen it several times."
Yes, we were successful, although not 100%.
Well, if you determined whether the wizard was alive, then that secures us payment from our first client.
Yes.
And if you secured the book, that
Yes.
secures us payment from our second client.
Here you go.
And she sort of takes the book from you and opens it up and leafs through it for a second. And she actually pulls out like a small electric light that she uses to sort of illuminate the pages and leaf through it. It's basically like a mini flashlight. And then she, after a few minutes, closes the book again and thrusts it back at you and says, "Well, you're a full member of the Sisterhood now, so you're entitled to the payments and rewards that come from the jobs you complete with us.
Awesome.
Are you ready for your next one?"
Yes. Let's go.
What terms did you leave the group that you were sent into the tower with on?
I'm assuming friendly since I saved their butt.
You think they'd welcome you back into their folds for a little longer?
Pretty sure.
One of that group, is the human. His name's Thaddeus Hammerlock.
Yes.
Comes from a rich noble family. He's the son of a baron.
Yes.
His
I found
sister
that out.
Astrid is set to inherit the barony when his father passes. Now, his father is actually in town. His family is in town, our sources tell us, to receive a promotion from Baron to Duke.
Ooh.
It's a rare thing that a Baron jumps to the position of Duke, actually. Our contact, our second client, is a member of the family, his younger brother. If you can return this book to the younger brother and collect payments, your portion of that payment will be secure. Do you think that they will accept you back into their ranks for the time being, so that you can complete this mission?
I'll try. I'll do my best.
Excellent. Well then, you know where to find the Sisterhood if you are successful. When you receive the payment, come back and we will divvy up your share.
Okay.
And she starts to turn off into the shadow again, and then she looks back at you, and Alyssa has this kind of this cold countenance most of the time. But a little bit of a smile cracks on the side of her mouth, and she says, "Nice work." And then she turns back into the shadows and disappears.
I earned it. And it's
So then, you guys just crawled into...
Did she tell me his brother's name?
She would have. Hold on, let me get that for you.
She didn't
So-
mention it because I would have.
I don't know if
written it
he's
down.
got more than one brother,
It's,
so I need to
Gavin.
make sure it's the right.
Gavin.
It is,
Right.
it's
Gavin? Okay.
Gavin Hammerlock.
Gavin. Oh, I like that name.
So you learned that his sister's name is Astrid. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
His sister's name is Astrid, and his brother's name is Gavin. And his
his-
brother's
Yeah.
Gavin is the one who put in the request to retrieve that book.
Okay.
That is his older sister named her.
Middle child.
That
Middle
explains
child's
a lot.
wrong. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. that
That
explains a
explains a
lot.
lot.
Middle child.
When someone says they're a middle child, someone always says that explains a lot, and it always has a different meaning.
Yeah.
Middle child can be anything, but it can all be explained by the fact
Spoken
that
like
they're
a true middle child.
I'm not a middle child.
I am.
I'm on the eldest half.
You're still in the middle though,
I'm not though.
but you have older and younger
I'm the
siblings.
oldest boy, and I have there's 6 of us. I'm in the top 2. That puts me on the top.
That's true. Because the middle two would be the middle.
A lot.
Typical of middle child.
Yeah, typical.
Shut up! So you guys crawled into a cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a transition.
Well, when you put
So
it like
you
that,
guys crawled into a cabinet.
Okay, but I'm gonna make my way back now.
Yeah,
to
well,
them?
where do you
Okay.
want to go? We'll leave
Yeah.
that up to you.
Yeah, I'll make my way back to them and
Okay.
try to sneak back in without them noticing I was gone.
Well, you're gone for quite a long time.
Well, I could be waiting in the antechamber outside saying I wasn't gonna crawl in that hole.
that's true. Yeah.
You can do that. Yeah.
You guys crawl into this cabinet, and Thaddeus went in first. Who went in first?
I went in
Yeah,
first.
yeah,
Harmony went in first.
I think that's
After
where it
Cial,
was.
you see
Okay.
Cial stand up and sort of brush their pajamas off, and the inside of this room is lavishly decorated. It's like the carpet is like this cush shag carpet, and it's all in this either this emerald green color or it's this goldish embroidery.
Have I been in here before?
No.
No. So not even when she was teaching me before.
No, and essentially you come out into what is sort of like an entryway that then opens up into a singular large room, and there is just a sort of this bed that goes along the entire wall, and it is just cush and plush.
Wow.
And then in sort of the middle of the room there is a desk with various books and utensils on it. The sort of things you would have seen Cial use to make potions and such. And then as Hunter comes in last, Cial pokes their head out the cabinet, looks around, says, "Alright, I guess that's everyone." And closes the door behind.
I'm gonna beeline for one of the beds.
Yeah.
Plop on it.
Yeah.
Is it one big bed?
It's
Face
like it's one
first.
big bed that goes
To
around.
a section of the bed.
It's like this. It's sort of a circular room.
Mhm.
Like the entranceway goes up into a circular room, and then the bed takes up like one entire wall of this circle.
Wow.
Basically,
Yeah, I'm beelining for the closest section. I'm just face planting into
and
it.
it's just like emerald green sheets,
like
with the gold
sticking
embroidery.
straight up off of it like that. Just
And Cial says, well, welcome to my home, at least for now. It's sort of embarrassing that I've been forced to hide in here for so long, but at least it's comfortable. And they flash the fanged teeth in a smile. So, I feel like you owe me a story, and then I owe you something, Harmony.
Mm-hmm.
So, we ended up searching the tower top to bottom, or bottom to top, I should say. We entered the wrong way.
Well, that must have been an ordeal. Helja was always cautious.
Yes. There was a lot.
Found some interesting things.
Did you know that the city was built on a lipid ruin?
Yes, actually, most of the major cities in this continent are built upon the ruins of ancient civilizations. It's as if the humans came in and took things from others. That doesn't seem consistent with history, and the smile flashes again.
Yes, well, be that as it may, we elected not to break the barrier we found down there.
Ah, that's probably a wise choice on your part.
And instead, we fought our way up the tower, met the librarian, who was almost certainly no longer there.
I suppose, yes, if Helja is dead, and then basically as you're having this conversation, Cial is on the ground, sort of undoing the towel around Helja and inspecting the wounds very closely, and just sort of Cial mutters, yes, I suppose if Helja is dead, then Drix would be free to leave, and that is a bit troubling for me, but that's okay. It's a trouble for another day.
Can I ask something?
Yes?
I know there's more of the story left, but seeing Helja reminds me. If these counselors are so important, why has no effort been made to entreat the High Priestesses to do something about it? I can understand if it was for the common folk, but these are rare spells that require certain ingredients, but it seems like for a council, the effort would be made.
Well, you have to understand that there's several political factors at work in the city at this very moment. One of which is that the Church of Arathis and several of its followers are pushing to remove the council members from their seats of power. The general populace doesn't even know that they're being deposed like this. Like I mentioned, this is an inside information that I was able to get through my connections. The general populace is being told that they're just sequestered within their tower, working on their projects as they always are. However, the Church of Arathis is using this time of absence to push for, well, attempting to use it to show that they don't deserve their seats, and that we should learn from the political structure of the country of Adeus to the north.
So the highest ranking clergy
Are being
all
prevented from doing anything by either a lack of knowledge of what is going on, or by the Church of Arathis, which has incredible power within the city, and will not allow them to do it.
Anyway, I mean, that is continuing the story. So, after many ordeals, with mine and Met got to the top of the tower, where we came in too late. There was an illithid, much hardier than I would have expected.
Illithid. Now that is interesting.
Commanded,
Those haven't been seen on the surface in years.
And Hunter would explain the phenomena that he saw with the
yeah. What
necklace.
that- Yeah.
So when he was slain, then his you could probably think about how to explain this better than I could, but like what his like soul was like.
Yeah, his some sort of essence.
Yeah, his
in him
essence was
drawn.
like channeled into this amulet that one of his companions was wearing, and then he telepathically told me that like this wasn't over. Does the name Quor strike anything with you?
No, unfortunately not.
He was robed. He was wearing one of them.
Oh, and then I'll pull the robe out. And, yeah, he was wearing this.
And those would be the robes of the jerks who came to try and accost me in my own shop weeks ago. So I suppose that connects those dots.
Okay, then I'll put it back.
However, this is interesting. There's a hand shape on this one. That is
Oh.
different. The other ones had eyes. but
And I'll pull that one out too. This one.
Yes, like those. Exactly. Precisely. It
Yes.
seems as if you've been busy collecting a wardrobe for yourself. haven't you?
Ciel, have you ever heard of a vampire named Kay?
There are several famous vampires that have appeared throughout history. Many of them have been imprisoned in places like the Shadowfell, and they don't bother this realm anymore, or they haven't in
You're
many
doing
years.
that thing again where you're talking a lot, but you're not
The
answering my question.
short answer is no. I've never heard of a vampire named Kay.
I don't think it was his real name anyway.
Well, yeah, I don't think that was his real name. Anyway, we met this vampire.
Who'd want me named Kay?
I know, right?
It's a stupid name.
So stupid. Thanks, guys. We met this vampire who called himself Kay, and he's also apparently vampires. Yes, we're just beginning. He's also apparently being an enemy of the eyes of the world, so that makes him our ally.
Well,
Anyway, he told us that there's another organization called the Hands of the World
well, that would explain the difference in insignia.
So there was this Illithid who was cutting Helja's head open to remove the brain.
And that explains this cavity at the top, I would suppose.
He's using this.
You see, all like takes it from your hands, very pushily, just sort of grabs it, snatches it out. Fiddles with the buttons, gets it to activate. There's the whirring sound as it starts to spin. Turns it over in hand. Yes, this does look like Thimblefoot make, but it's not particularly rare. They use these things in sort of the butcher shops and places like that where they have to cut through bone. It's a bone saw.
I was hoping it was a custom job that would indicate Thimblefoot.
It doesn't necessarily implicate a connection, though I suppose it's something that's worth investigating.
Anyway, he was there with a bodyguard of sorts. Something like Hunter.
Right.
Similar.
Yeah,
Construct.
similar build.
Not just something like Hunter, but someone that you know, right?
Yes, an old acquaintance.
Well, that is interesting.
Do you think the brain has something to do with that?
That's entirely possible. And Ciel starts to like walk around Hunter and sort of like inspect you closely. They
kind of.
pull some spectacles on that have these like adjustable lenses that
I'm gonna like keep
magnify.
her away. Like, no. You can talk about this later,
It's
Ciel.
as I recall from before. It's not animated by any particular magical symbols. It's almost akin to. You saw my replication of Hunter before.
Oh yeah, we got a great look at it.
Yes. Well, he requires magic to animate himself. However, you seem to be more of a feat of mechanical engineering, imbued with consciousness, which would certainly require some sort of magic. Sort of a fusion of the two.
Does she know that? You used to be okay?
No.
He did mention that.
Did I?
Yeah.
Does Ciel
Like, as you were coming in here, I believe.
coming
you
in
not?
here? I didn't say anything about
I thought you
that.
did. Sorry, my bad. No, Ciel doesn't know.
Do you want?
Nope.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, and it's difficult to tell what sort of method might have been used to shove a soul or a consciousness into this mechanical body, but
All I know is there was a switch involved.
So
A
there's,
lever.
there's nothing but bad news then. Because we have an Illithid who did this, who's still on the loose, who may be given a new body anytime. We don't know who his accomplices are. He's still going after the captain. Nothing's changed.
except for we know what we're dealing with. And we know that they haven't completed their job yet.
Ciel, you have to leave the city
I think I'm quite safe here for now.
for now.
I'll stay for some time. I still owe you the end of our bargain.
I don't know if you do.
I intend to fulfill. A deal's a deal. The smile flashes again with the grin.
I mean, I would understand though. We couldn't save your friend. We were too late.
I knew Helja for many years, and she was a dwarf. You were friends with that dwarf back when you visited me in Northwood, right?
Yes.
Nasria was her name?
Yes.
Did you learn anything about dwarven culture in your time with Nasria?
Apparently, drinking is sacred to them.
Yes, this is true. So is battle and warfare to some degree. I think that if
Nasria was kind of a special case, I think. But
Helja, though a practiced arcane mind and intelligent in her own right, could get reckless sometimes when it came to a good fight. It's just her nature. And I think that if she were to go out anyway, it would be in a fight. So it sounds like she did.
well, I hope that she went down fighting. 'Cause when we found her, she definitely wasn't fighting.
Well,
We'll see y'all.
It's a loss, but I've seen many friends come and go throughout my lifetime, and you needn't worry about me. And you can see that there's sort of like a resolve in CL's face.
As your business partners slash
CL smiles a little
friends,
bit.
we have some more information too that we had on our way here. And I don't think we told CL about this, about the giant.
The storm
The
giant.
giant,
Oh,
the
right.
storm giant soul.
We didn't have much of a
You
chance to catch
encountered-
up last time.
Voltrus, the god of the ocean
Is-
storm.
His soul was stolen by the same group.
They found it.
And then I'll hand CL the letter. And then
Let me see if there's anything CL can get from this.
Do you know Orin? You heard of this Orin before?
The name sounds familiar. Like I said, I've met many people throughout my life. And this one strikes me as someone I met many years ago. I can't quite place it. Perhaps a traveler that came through here?
They must be here in the city still. Otherwise, why would this?
Yes,
Who's it?
perhaps.
Who's
Sorry.
the sent June? Why would June be writing it otherwise?
Well,
June is
this letter
the
was addressed
receiver.
to you.
That's true.
And
From
then the
Thor.
Illithid was the one who wrote the letter.
Yeah, I don't think that Orin is in the city.
I think so.
No.
Well, if they indeed do have a power to shove souls into mechanical bodies, like they've displayed with Hunter, and they captured the soul of Voltrus,
Are they going to make a mechanical army with all these souls, do you think?
they're certainly up to something that isn't good.
I don't think they would need an army with souls like that. 10 or so would do the job.
At this point, Mara has made her way back up into the shop, and you're sort of waiting outside in the entranceway. Sort of like the main shop area. You're not going to crawl in the cabinet after
No.
Okay.
Well, in
Well,
any case,
Yeah, we're staying in the Dusty Bottle. If anything further develops, you can leave a message to us there.
Yes, I'm staying here for now. If anything comes up, I will move. However, it will be hard to find me if that's the case, so I will find you. Do
Yeah.
let me know if anything comes up. And Harmony, when things settle down a bit, I owe you a lesson.
I'm going to give her my paper fan that I
Mhm.
stole with the sleeping cat.
Oh yeah, right from the
Was that Heart Lake?
yeah somewhere in Heart Lake, you
Okay.
stole a paper fan with a cat on it.
I'm going to give it to her and say, so you can find us more easily.
Ciel sort of looks at it. So you did learn something about magic after all, and pockets it.
and then
Well, will you be staying here? I have plenty of bed space.
Let me go see what happens tomorrow. If we're going to be staying here, we should bring her back in. And Thaddeus calls back out.
Okay, and then Ciel sort of begins to busy themselves with covering up Helja's body and sort of pushes it into a wardrobe out of the way and out of sight, presumably to deal with later.
okay.
And Thaddeus calls out.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
it
talk
would be
to
nice
CL
to
too.
stay here. We've
All right.
already paid for the...
Yeah, that's true. But it's just nice.
Yes.
It's so dusty. in the Dusty Bottle.
Yeah, that's true. And plus, I've stolen so much they might have caught on to
There's
us.
also that.
Oh yeah, and there was that.
Mara,
So there was that bar fight that Mara started.
it's very comfortable in there. We think we might be staying here for the night if you'd like to join us.
Okay, I'll try to fit through that little door.
Okay.
It's very easy. It's much easier than it looks. That is. See, I'll show you. That is called back in.
And yeah, it doesn't look like Thaddeus is going to fit, but like as soon as his head goes in, his shoulders sort of shrink a little bit, and then as soon as his shoulders go in, his waist shrinks a little bit, and then his hips, and then his legs, and then he's in, and you can't see him anymore.
That's
He's
like
like
usually how
beyond
they do
the
it.
shimmering barrier.
Okay. It's like
So-
Wizard of, Alice in Wonderland.
Or
type of
Willy
thing.
Wonka.
Yeah.
Okay.
So still want to talk to Seal a little bit. Like, Seal, I think, given what we experienced in that tower, we're definitely in need of your magics once more, enchantments and such.
Yes, it does seem as if I'm going to have to take a bit of an active role in the events of the future, which isn't perhaps my favorite thing to do.
But if you want to get your shop rolling again, maybe.
Business is important.
Yeah,
You are a keen one, Hunter. Flashes the smile.
And Hunter
again.
tries to smile, but he doesn't really have like emotion on his face. But he just
His eyes just
his,
glow a little
his
brighter.
body posture is like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you help us, we'll help you.
Thaddeus says to Harnett, I think we probably put off seeing our father touching. We may as well could do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is that something that you want to do?
Do you need to visit the temple again on the way, or is that even on the way?
No, I don't think I need to visit the temple until I found out what's going on with the diamond.
Oh, right.
But my father is like a hornet. I always want to know where he is. So we better get visit.
Okay. Okay. If you're ready, just let us know what you need. Alright.
I'm going to visit Dad's dad.
Did you come in to the room?
Yeah.
Hi. Wait, where have you been?
I was waiting outside. I didn't know if you needed an invitation to come into this place. Gee, look at it.
Yeah, I know, right?
It is decadent.
It's pretty awesome. She said we can stay here.
Awesome. I am
They said
tired.
we can stay here. By the way, Mara, CL, Mara.
Hello.
Oh, nice to meet you.
It's good to
Thank
make your
you for
acquaintance.
setting this up. She was awesome. Very
I
helpful.
have-
Although, she didn't pick locks as well as I thought someone
Mm-hmm.
in her position should have.
Now, to be fair, she did better than any of us.
That's true.
So are you saying I haven't got my money's worth? Because then I'll have to take a.
Well,
I'll have
in
to
the
speak
end-
with the my contacts within the guild.
In the end, I think you were the only one left standing, weren't you?
That's right.
Sure, we might all be dead if it wasn't for Mara. So.
That's right.
What kind of guild has these people?
And she had
A
some
very
pretty
secretive
awesome
one.
ideas. When you used that, what was it? You tied a rope to
And
a
then Hunter
an
will be like,
arrow
secrets don't make friends,
and
Seal.
shot a
No,
gargoyle?
but friends make secrets.
Pulls it down.
Yeah,
Then you should tell your friends.
that was pretty awesome.
Are we friends or business partners? Hunter, make up your
Maybe we
mind.
can be
please.
both.
That seems to be the end
Why
of the
can't I
conversation.
put a label on everything? Alright, let's sleep.
Okay. The beds are super comfortable, and there does seem to be plenty of space that you don't have to like cuddle with anyone. You can all sort of take your own space. And
Harmony's curled
relax.
up in the corner.
Do any of you have anything you want to look at? Anything you want to
Oh,
do?
I want to cast spells into my amulet.
Okay.
I want to work on my inventions.
Now, I have a question about how this thing works, because I have spells in there still. Do I have to expend them to get them out, or can I, like,
You know, I didn't write it in the item description, but I'm gonna say you can probably like
overwrite them? Like,
You
with
can,
a
like-
USB?
not cast them, but expend the energy. You know?
Okay.
I'm gonna say that's possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna cast one. Well, I can't do that tonight because I've used up, but I'll cast. Let's see.
I'm gonna ask Seal if I can use their work table.
Yes, please, feel free. Here, actually, let me pull up a new one for you, and then they go into the wardrobe that is currently holding Helja, and Ciel steps entirely into it, is gone for about a minute,
Yeah.
and then steps back out, and is carrying like almost like a card table, and
Okay,
then sets it up for you with a chair.
thank you.
All right, I'm casting one level of shield and one banishment, so that's 5 plus 12 into it.
Okay.
Before I sleep.
And I'm gonna identify or like look at the items that we found, the eyeball stock thing, and
Ciel is like hovering over your shoulder as you do this.
that's fine.
Do you want some help identifying those? Those are very clearly magic.
If you can, if you'd be so
Yes,
kind.
lay them out, please. So
And
what
then-
all do you
so-
lay out?
I'll lay them all out neatly.
So there's the leather tube,
Yeah, so there's the leather tube.
like
There's
the
the,
leather tube with the wax
With the
seal.
wax.
Yes, the wax seal, correct. And then there's the chainmail armor and the eye stock thing, and then the gloves with the spider web.
And Ciel sort of goes down the line.
And
one
the
by one.
spellbook.
Right. Ciel starts with the spellbook and flips through it and says, "Now, this is interesting. It's written in a rare language. The Illithid don't write often, but when they do, they write in a very specific language that is known only to them. Fortunately, I've studied for many years the various languages of this world, and I can read it. This is a spellbook, which is exceedingly rare for Illithid. They tend to prefer the powers of the mind over the powers of magic. However, this one seems to have deviated from that quite a bit by the depth and level of spells and incantations within the spellbook. Nothing new here to me, and I doubt it would be of any use to Harmony. No. Do you mind if I keep it then?
And if it's of no use to you, then yeah, you can have it. What do you want in exchange?
I suppose in this instance, it's what do you want in exchange?
We'll talk about that later then.
All right. Well, I'll set this aside for now. And Cial then goes down the line to what do you want checked out next?
We just go on the list. I have or the 2 with the wax seal.
Okay. Cial goes about a sort of ritual setting up.
Can I look for the animated books too and see if they're still animated?
Yeah, you like sort of open the bag and you have to speak a command word to activate to sort of pull something out of there.
Yeah.
So you like say animated book, and one of them attempts to like leap out of there and like it's fluttering and shove it back in.
Right in front of Cial. Okay, they're not ready yet.
The head cocks to the side.
I'll tell you later.
Interesting. And then Cial goes back to the ritual that they were setting up.
I have something I want to show to Cial. If they're not busy.
I mean,
Which turn?
they're-
Because I got to talk to Cial too. Let's just go down the line.
man, Cial is
Are we
popular.
going down the line?
Yeah, we'll go down the line. So, I mean, you can all be standing around as Hunter is getting his objects
I like that we're
identified.
like kids in a candy store. Ooh, look at this, look at this. Ooh, look at this.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have all the stuff we found that we need to
I
keep.
mean, identify can be cast as a ritual, so
Yeah.
Cial can just keep doing this. Basically, Cial spends 10 minutes or so on each item. The chainmail is a set of +1 chainmail armor.
Okay.
Mine's
Don't
not.
have that.
Maybe, yeah.
Does anyone else wear chain?
Not currently.
No.
I guess it'd be yours.
Okay, cool.
So you can. I'll erase it off mine. Okay, got it.
The next thing up is
It's
the leather
sparkly, by the
tube,
way.
and Cial sort of
Which one?
the
Tube?
leather tube takes
Okay.
a knife and breaks the leather seal, and then takes off the cap and pours a scroll, not a soul, a scroll. That would be shocking. A scroll out onto their hands and sort of unfurls it and begins to read it. Ah, yes, interesting. This is a scroll of Globe of Invulnerability. It was one of Helja's specialties.
Globe of Invulnerability.
If that Illithid was indeed a spellcaster, I assume this spell came in handy in their fight. However, it sounds like there was a martial combatant present, which is probably
Yes.
why she fell. Anyways, here you go. And sort of hands that to Harmony.
Because
Because
I'm the one who can cast.
she
So,
knows, Cial knows that Harmony is the one who can cast spells.
Alright, all yours.
So
it's
A scroll of. Or
globe
Globe of Invulnerability.
Scroll of Globe of Invulnerability.
Mhm.
25 animated books.
What are you gonna do?
I know what I'm gonna do. Don't worry.
Okay.
I got this.
Going down the line, the next thing is the pair of gloves with like the spider web embroidery on it. Ah, yes, these are handy. Now, if you
Good luck.
yes, pardon the pun. If you don these gloves,
Uh-huh.
and I believe you have to spend some time with them, allow them to attune to your very essence. If you do that, they will allow you occasionally, under the proper circumstances, to snatch projectiles from the air,
Oh,
Okay.
effectively saving yourself from being pierced by them.
that might be nice.
Hmm. What are they called?
Gloves of missile snaring.
Missile snaring?
Yeah.
To think about that one.
I rolled really well for treasure for you guys.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
I think that was all that you had. There was the tube, there
And
was
then you get the spell book.
the bowstring.
Yeah.
Right. And finally, Cial completes the Identify ritual on the bowstring and says, now this is peculiar. This is something that I have never seen before. I've seen
You
many of
both.
these... I've made many of these items that you've placed before me. This enchanted chainmail, that's child's play, and these gloves of missile snaring. Been there, done that. This is new. This bowstring is enchanted. It seems to be made, constructed of the eye stalks of horrors of the Underdark, these vile creatures, tyrants, with many eyes, these tentacle-like eyes that come off of their being. They have one central eye, and they're extremely powerful.
The Beholders?
Yes, precisely. You've heard of them. Now,
We fought one in there.
well, that is interesting.
Well-
You didn't mention
Well,
that.
we knew it was
True.
a minor beholder. Yeah,
Some sort.
and we would explain that it, the differences that we saw, but okay.
Listen, a lot happened. I was leaving out a lot from the story.
I will have to hear the full story at some point, but for now, that's fine. Let me finish explaining. Each of their individual eye rays has a specific effect, and this bowstring seems to be imbued with those effects to a limited
Oh,
extent.
that's cool.
So you can imbue an arrow with the effects that their eye stalks
Alright.
would have. It's a beholder eye stalk
That's really
bowstring.
cool. Okay. Well, you have a short bow, maybe you should.
Viewers, this is one of my custom items.
That's so cool.
I designed this one for Hunter about a year ago.
Oh my gosh.
You have to click the link
Put it
after
on
that to
Yeah.
get it.
Where do
Custom
you?
links. I'll put it in the chat.
I'll send you the information.
Where do I equip it? Is it just part of the bow?
Yes, it's part of your bow. It takes an attunement slot, I believe.
How many do you
So
have?
you have to
Yeah,
attune
for-
to it, but you can put it on your bow. You have 3 attunement slots. Right?
Total.
Total.
Okay.
It's very powerful, though.
Oh, that's so
Great.
good. Oh my god.
He's like, what did I
The
write that?
Dungeon Master's Guide doesn't really have very many bow archery magic items, and so I wanted to make some that archers could use when you were playing an archer. So
Yeah.
this is what I came up with.
That's awesome. I like it.
That's really good.
If only it was 1 year earlier.
And you go around saying, and have seen them all.
Let's see. So that was all of Hunter's things.
Okay, done.
So I have this bottle full of shattered heartstone from the Hag's Hut forever ago.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Interesting. Can I take a look?
Yes.
Ciel pulls the bottle from your hand and sort of dumps some of the stone out onto their hand and peers at it with the spectacles that sort of...
We crushed it and then I put it in
Like
the
the same one that the guy with Toy Story and Woody.
pretty much, yeah.
Toy
Except for
Story
it's
two.
sort of like an arcane version of it, so there's like magic that you can see sort of spinning in the lenses.
I love that part so much.
I have to refresh my memory on what exactly this
It was so long ago.
stuff does.
And we're finally getting
Yeah,
to
it was
that.
at the top where that observatory
We were in
was,
that weird,
and we
like,
could see like the
invisible
rainfall.
room.
Yeah, we could see like the rainfall on the hut that we were in. There's
Yeah.
all like
Yeah,
inception
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
going on, and
And we
then
crushed it.
yeah, there was that pedestal
And
in
then
the
I put
middle.
some in a bottle because I
Yeah,
was like, this
and
is
you
awesome.
Took some of the
Ah,
heartstone.
interesting.
It was like
You
the
said
heart of the hut or something.
you took
right?
this from
A
the
Hag's
Hag's
Hut.
Hut?
Yeah.
Yes, certain powerful night hags create objects called heartstones. The touch of the gem, sort of, it's incompatible with the concept of what a night hag is at its very being. However, they create these heartstones which can cure diseases when they touch a humanoid's flesh, or even perhaps an animal. However, while a night hag has one of these in their possession, they're able to enter into the ethereal plane. Now, night hags create these over... wow, how long does it take? Well, over a long time. And when crushed, it doesn't deal any damage per se to the hag itself, but removing their ability to enter the ethereal is certainly a crushing blow to the hag's sight. If you crushed this heartstone and didn't slay the hag, I would say you are in to see that hag again at some point.
That's not good news.
We didn't slay the hag, did we?
No. We
Yeah,
killed
she
the
definitely
other-
got away.
We killed the other two.
You
didn't
killed
we?
her daughters.
Yeah.
We killed Agatha and
Oh gosh.
What kind of gang
Bluebell.
exactly did I join?
we killed Agatha and Bluebell, but
Yeah,
we didn't
Mother
kill
Midnight-
Mother Midnight.
Actually-
She
Hags are nasty creatures.
took Ronan and got away.
Yeah, she took her house thing that I kept
Yeah.
flailing around. And
Yeah,
shifting.
that was a weird fight.
That's when you get. That's when you got the necklace too.
So, yeah.
Fights are weird.
Yeah, that's where I got this thing. But so
Speaking
if
of which, Harmony, your amulet does seem to be, I don't know if you've noticed, but it does seem to be sparking a bit more chaotically than it had last time I saw it.
Is it?
Just a little bit.
Do you think it's gonna explode? Should I take it off?
No, I don't think so.
Can you take it off?
Well, I got the feeling when I got it because like it attached itself to me when we were in the Hag's
I
Hut,
remember.
and it was a bad thing. But then I attuned to it, and it was a good thing. And I've been using it a lot.
It's hard to say exactly, but my studies would lead me to believe it looks as if it's trying to unleash some power within itself. I don't know.
Hunter's gonna like back away.
Could be for good.
Just
Could
like
be
stand
for
up.
bad.
He
But
just
I
stand over.
discovered that Harmony has been wearing a night hag's necklace for the entire time he's known it. He starts to rub his temple and pray to Oscar.
No, because
to Isanahead.
no, I tried to take it off after the whole experience with the hags. I tried, and I got the feeling that something really bad would happen if I took it off. Like it would just start.
when it was unattuned to you, it followed you around, like
Yeah.
it floated behind you,
Yeah.
and then it projected this aura that made your wild magic go off with
Yeah.
every spell.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kept it on because I thought it would be better than to have my magic be uncontrollable.
I mean,
You know my feelings on this, Harmony.
it's not to say that something negative will happen when this power bursts, and it does seem like it will, whether you try to suppress it or not. It just seems as if there's something more to it than last time I saw it. It's hard to explain. It
Uh-huh.
just warrants a little more research, I think.
Well, it's probably better than being a werebore.
This is true.
True. True.
Alright, so who else has something for Cial?
Did I have something else? I also have a book from the hags.
A book?
Yeah, and I have some trinkets too.
It
that I
just
was
says
like,
Hag's book. I think it was Mother Midnight's like journal or something.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
have-
find it in the same room?
I have a floppy hat and bone trinkets.
I don't know if that's gonna have spells or anything in
Yeah.
it or no, it's the thing that had the how to remove the curse on the
Yeah, that's right.
It's
So
that book.
there's nothing particular in there that Cial can glean except for how to remove the curse that was on the fairy drum.
Right, which we did already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Floppy hat.
I'm gonna throw that away.
The floppy hat you got was something.
Oh, but I did have a question about the Heartstone.
And then
You said it could cure diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's shattered, can it cure?
No, in its shattered state, I don't think it would do any good.
So it's not worth anything.
Probably not at this point in time.
So you don't want it.
I'll take it for research purposes if you...
Sure, take
no
it.
need for
I
it.
don't have any use for it if it can't heal anything. I'll get rid of that. I'll keep the bottle though.
then I have bone trinkets, and I have
Yep.
black, green, and red apples.
Those apples
And
are
you used a
rotten at
potion,
this point.
right?
Yeah, So
you
I
put
would
the
not
bottle
show
back.
see all the apples because I
Yes.
realize I'm
Yes.
like apple and I see it. Oh nope,
Well,
nope. Put it back in there. I just
I like to have bottles like in Zelda, the empty bottles.
I'm like I'll let the books eat those apples.
Oh boy, where in this house is the hat?
Floppy hat. You can just give it to me later if you want.
I think Cial casts Identify on the hat again, and I do recall it was cursed to
Yes.
some extent, but I
Floppy
don't
hat.
remember what the curse was. So Cial warns you, don't put that on.
And that's why I didn't put it on or do anything with it.
And I'll look up what exactly the curse was later. It's in my notes somewhere.
Okay.
I think Thaddeus has some things to look
Yeah.
into.
So
Man, we
we'll
might
do
have
it.
been able to put it on one of the guys.
We still can't.
Thaddeus doesn't have anything for it to look at, but he has a proposal for her.
Ah, interesting. I am a fan of proposals.
You can sort of drive a cab, right?
I can drive. Don't ask me for my driver's license, but I can drive.
How long does it take to cover, say, one layer? To go from end up and down to end?
Well, depending on the time of day, for example, now it's late at night, there's a little less traffic. We could probably go from the third to the fourth layer or the third to the second layer in a matter of 20 minutes.
But I'm not saying to get from point A to point B. I'm saying to take every street up and down. On the way.
That would take quite some time. Perhaps a day per layer.
What do you want about
Wow.
Thaddeus?
Oh, I know what
I
you're
want-
doing.
I want to
You're looking
locate
for
that.
the.
I want to locate that diamond. And if I'm within,
Oh,
A
from
thousand.
the
if I'm
temple.
within 1,000 feet of it, I'll know where it is. And it
Right.
seems like a cab would be the fastest way to get around the city. I can cast it 5 times. Each time lasts me 10 minutes. What do you think?
It seems a little insufficient. However, there could be ways we could limit it a bit. And this is a spell I do know myself, so I might be able to help you out.
Say going. If you didn't take every street, because of course it does have a fairly wide range. It's just not wide enough for my purposes here. Fair enough.
Between you and myself, we may be able to cover one layer of the city in a day or two.
Alright. Well, we'll think about it.
However, I'm not specifically familiar with the gem you're speaking of, so I would need to know a little bit more of the history of this gem,
I see.
perhaps.
It is a diamond that was taken from the shield of the statue of Asana in the Temple of Sehanine.
So if I went to the Temple of Sehanine, I could perhaps get a...
You could see where it came from.
And that would be enough to gain me some familiarity with it, which would help. Yes, we could potentially do this, but if that's everything from everyone, I think this is a good time to sleep. You woke me up in the middle of my rest.
Apologies.
Well, shall we no more?
Well, thanks for your hospitality.
Daddy starts unknowing his bedroll on the floor.
Well, you're welcome to share
How
this
many
bed,
times
Thaddeus, if you like.
I
There's
know.
plenty of space.
Hunter starts
Okay.
working on his invention on the table.
Alright, go ahead and just, which one are you working on?
The sword and shield.
Alright, so you're at intelligence checks right now. So roll an
Yeah,
intelligence
let me
check
find
for your
my
tinkerers.
list real
Yeah.
quick. I have too many pages I need to consolidate. I have like the very first one too, and level 1, and I kept adding notes. So intelligence. Oh no, I got a 11.
Okay. You saw Wen do it, where he slid that sword out from inside of his arm, and then
Yeah.
it buckled into his hand. So it would have been difficult to disarm him of it. So you know it's theoretically possible, and you're just sort of drawing various mechanisms that you think would be required to make this modification.
Sure,
You make a little bit of progress, but not a ton.
it's fine. That's what I'm gonna do for the first, whatever, 3 hours we have left.
You spend several hours sort of at the blueprints
Yeah.
before even you get tired.
and then I'll sleep for the next 4. Or power down.
Is Mara going to do anything else before bed?
I'm gonna go near Harmony because I'm starting to feel protective toward her because she's so little.
You're just gonna sleep near me.
Are you flopping on the bed? I
Yeah,
assume?
I'm finding a place in like the. Well, I guess it's circular, right? So there's no like corner, but I'll like.
Yeah.
curl
But like
up.
there's edges, so you
I'll
could
go to the
one of
edge and like
edges.
curl it,
And there's like an abundance of pillows.
like a
so-
cat, you know, with my tail wrapped around me.
And then Mara sort of comes up next to you. Flops down.
Thanks, Mara, for having our backs today.
Welcome.
I know we
Hopefully
just-
I'll get better at it.
I know we just met, but like, you're awesome.
And then I think as rest finds you, that's a good place to stop for tonight. So, if you came and watched, there was a lot of story stuff. So if you need to catch up on what's been going on in the story, there's information on the Twitch page. There's all of our past videos on YouTube. You can go and watch those if you really enjoyed everything. Or we're going to rebroadcast some videos a couple times throughout the week. Or are we just going to do
Yeah,
it Mondays?
you missed today. We're going to rebroadcast tonight's episode tomorrow morning, and then next Monday we'll rebroadcast the last 2 episodes.
And we'll try
before
to
the
be in
stream.
chat at that point. We can't so much when we're playing, but we can while we're rebroadcasting. So we try to be in chat and answer questions if people have questions.
Otherwise, yeah, check us out on YouTube, post comments, let us know your questions, tweet at us.
And always come back for more. Hang out with us because that's what we're streaming for. Anyways, have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.